are popping off or not. And I hope that they are, because normally they are very, very good. Make sure you go and follow them if you can, because they're just brilliant. Okay, Varus going to be taken away first as we dive into the draft here for game number 1. The Vi obviously going to continue to get removed. And what the target is going to be a very important one, as the Talia not actually going for a Calyx first pick on that one. And this means that an Azir is definitely happening.
It does seem very likely. The target of Chovy always feels like you can decide what type of draft they can't do, but you can't stop him from being Chovy and popping off. So like now we know they're angling for a first pick Azir for Calyx, and it's been his best pick in my opinion so far. But now GENG could just ban it, because I'm not sure if they're worried about Gio's Kalista with the nerfs to Kalista. They're talking about it. They might just take the Azir away, because Chovy's like, well, I mean, I'd like to play Azir too, but I can play anything.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Azir needs to be attacked here just a little bit, but instead it's going to be the Sejuani taken away from Gideon.
Calyx has also had some pretty good Yone games, but I think he was always kind of planning on playing the Azir here. So if you ban the Sejuani, then the Yone becomes a little bit less appealing, but now you can't play Yone Sejuani yourself. So the Sejuani ban, not my favorite, although Gideon has been very strong on the pick, so it might have been more about Gideon than the Yone that I was describing. See what the response here is going to be for GENG. Tier list-wise, you expect the Xin Zhao Annie. Or sorry, not Annie, Ahri. But Annie would be fun.
Annie would be fun too. I'm actually kind of okay with it. I think that Annie's really strong, even though we didn't necessarily see her pick up a win in our previous series. Don't think that that was Annie's fault.
Look at that win rate of one of our highest tier picks in terms of priority. Usually that trends a little bit towards 50% because weaker teams pick it and lose, but sitting over 60 as they'll give Keen the Jace instead, keeping a bit of a mystery about what Chovy's going to play, and he doesn't have to lock it in now since the Azir is already in play. Do like the Jace quite a bit.
Yeah, I think the Poppy was standing out like a sore thumb. Gideon is so good at this champion. There is the Rumble for Kingen as well that we were talking about earlier on. Yeah. I don't think this draft could have gone any better for Nongshim.
No, this is like the best they could have ever wanted, I feel. And Chovy will still play the Ahri because whether it's Fearless or not, it's game 1, and we go down the tier list, and that's what's left. He could have played Annie, but he wants to have a little bit more agency here. We'll play the Ahri. And now things get interesting in terms of the bottom lane, because we have our top halves of the map blocked up. I don't think Lehens is playing Poppy, although technically possible. He'll still take the Kalista away. Kalista plus Azir is such a deadly combo, because even with the nerfs, you have a strong bottom lane, you have that scaling mid lane.
Yeah. I feel like the ban priority on Kalista is a little bit high. I think that even on the previous patch, she was, you could deal with her, but teams not wanting to risk it.
You also can't play Poppy into it because the Poppy's already taken, so there are reasons to ban it here in the second phase.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
Let's see if they want to take away like an Ashe here, for example, another strong, dominant bottom lane Gio Lehens could play. Take the Rakan away instead.
Okay.
As maybe a Kai'Sa ban here does allow Ruler to just go straight into Ezreal, and I think he'd be happy to do so. I think you either ban Kai'Sa or Ezreal. If you don't ban the Ezreal and he picks it, you could play Kai'Sa into it. I'm not a big fan of Kai'Sa right now in this meta myself, but I think those are probably the big considerations here.
Yeah, Xayah as well is another big one, but Braum going to be taken off the board. I like the Rakan ban because it's so much easier for Nongshim to pick it, right? With them already having the Poppy, as you already illustrated. They've got 2 of these champions that you're happy to play with Poppy. Can't really play it into it. Just feels a little unfair.
I do like what you mentioned about Xayah, though, because as GENG here, I think you don't really want to play Xayah into what Nongshim have, but Nongshim would love to play Xayah into what GENG have. So denying it doesn't necessarily make sense. They will take the Ezreal. And so now do you play Xayah for safety into the Ahri Xin Zhao, or do you play... I wasn't going to suggest Ashe or Jhin, but the Kai'Sa, which... Those are the 3 like that you're really thinking about. I don't like the Jhin in this draft that much.
I don't like AD Kai'Sa very much either, so I wouldn't like that one.
Zeri is kind of the odd duck here, but it is certainly what Gio has gone to a lot in the past, and it hyper-indexes into the scaling. The Alistar will get you through a lot of those early team fights.
I'm worried, though, because that's a lot of early, like, you don't have a lot of early power.
Yeah, you don't really have early power anywhere.
Yeah, Zeri Alistar is just kind of a losing lane no matter what. And so, like, where is the winning lane for Gideon to play around? And the answer is nowhere.
Yeah.
And so Canyon if he can be in good positions, GENG could really get this snowball rolling.
I do think Coach Kim, with his facial expression, says it all. I think he's pretty happy with how this draft eventuated. I think there's a lot of really strong potential if Nongshim can get through the early mid-game and be in an even game state.
Yeah.
By the way, almost no team does that against GENG in any situation, even if they have the early game draft. You don't have the early game draft, so I'm worried about this. I agree with you. I think with maybe the Azir gets an edge over the Ahri, then that's a big if because it's Chovy on the other side, but it's not even a matchup that, with how many times Azir has been nerfed over the years, he even just hard wins or out-pushes the Ahri anymore. And it's tough to even get Poppy value into the Ahri there. So I just feel like for Nongshim, if the game plan is sit back and scale, GENG's like, oh, I win those every time. I take the whole map. I take every turret. GENG's like, I'm looking at a 4,000 gold lead at worst when we hit 20 minutes. And that's if you're lucky.
I'm a little bit worried for Nongshim, but if they were able to spawn into the game at 25 minutes and utilize an even game state with a lot of gold, like the 3 items for all of these champions feels pretty good. Unfortunately, that's not how League of Legends works, and you need to make some gold on the map in the early stage, and if everything's on fire, this composition could snowball it beautifully, especially with the range advantage that they do have. So let's dive onto the Rift, see whether Nongshim can survive.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 1 of our second series of the day. And at the beginning of the draft, Wolf, I think I feel like maybe we're, especially me, I'm kind of dooming on how this draft looks for Nongshim. I think it's just how jarring the Zeri Alistar was.
It's the Zeri part, and the Alistar part is obviously not great in a lot of matchups. I don't think this is one matchup where the Alistar is going to just get completely blasted, but I do agree that they needed some power there. The Ashe was risky, but I think worked well with their draft and would have given them some power there in the bottom lane. Kaisa would have given you a favorable matchup into Ezreal, but doesn't feel great in terms of what your comp is.
I don't think you can
do.
play it when there's already double magic damage.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great, right? It's a kind of an awkward spot in the draft to go for it. And otherwise, you know, Kalista was banned, and I don't think Gio is going to play like a Draven lane into the Ezreal here. So the problem is that they kind of put themselves in this position where Gio also comfort-wise wants to play the Zeri, and so they just don't have an early game.
Yeah.
There's some elements of early game to this comp, like the Alistar level 6 spike, Calix's ability to warp team fights with his ultimate if you can get positional advantage, but I think the best bet, to be honest, for Nongshim is a Zeri moment, right? Where there's a big overextension from GENG, Gio gets 3 kills, and then we skip part of the wait to get Zeri to 2 and 3 items, and you just get ahead. Maybe a level 6 all-in in the old meta, where we used to see Zeri get kills in the duo lane, but doesn't really feel like that's as relevant these days with the nerfs we've seen to Zeri over the last few years.
Yeah, it's not quite the same type situation. But so far, you can see Gio and Lahen's just holding their own, taking a couple of Mystic shots here and there, but otherwise nothing too much to worry about. Looks like full clears are coming in on both sides already. You can actually, never mind. Canyon looking for a little bit of an angle here, moving towards the top side of the map for
double prio in solo lanes, because like we said, these lanes aren't winning.
Well, yeah, this is the biggest issue, right? Is that now Gideon doesn't own his jungle.
Yeah.
Really.
Canyon's just going to look for a steal here, it looks like. I don't know if he's necessarily going to interact with Gideon before he gets this low.
Yep. The ward in that brush spots Gideon moving over. And now Canyon is going to see what he can find. Actually considering rotation from
He's just looking for this one now.
Yeah, is he just going to walk in and smite it? There it goes. Yep. Steals it away, and Gideon not going to be able to react in time. Wind becomes lightning. And now Canyon thinking about doing even more. And you were mentioning the priority. Well,
yeah, they don't.
Chovy just gets to walk in. Oh, no. Gideon, you're not allowed to do this. Charm is going to connect. That means that he cannot get out of the way. The flash forward, and Chovy picks up the first blood. And it was like they got ran over by a steamroller. You know, it's moving really slowly. We were all yelling at him, please get out of the way. But if you don't move, it really hurts to get hit by a steamroller, Wolf.
Also, if you don't go in there, the steamroller takes your jungle away anyways. So it feels like it was a zero-sum game, but the way to lose the least would have been to not be in a place where with the prio of mid lane, It is illegal to be. Chovy just teleports straight back to mid lane, puts the pressure back on. Chovy's kind of cheating a little bit in terms of his gold diff of 14 this time around. Was not into the enemy mid laner at all. It was just into the enemy jungle. Or, he won mid lane to get a kill in the jungle, I suppose.
Oh man, and now Canyon is 2 camps up. Gideon has nowhere to go to get anything, needs to go towards his Krug camp, which is now respawning, and Canyon gets to get rid of his entire bottom side jungle. So this lead in the jungle is going to expand. There are still a couple of scuttles left up and available though, and Canyon is going to see to that one first, realizing that the Gromp wasn't actually going to die. It's still able to move over towards this crab, and look at this control vision. Look at this vision everywhere for GENG.
There's no surprises. There's no angle. This really optimistic pathing here by Gideon is also just completely respected by Ruler and Duro. So now he has to look to steal this scuttle.
Yeah, but the scuttle isn't even going to be moving down there. Canyon keeping it towards the things that he knows.
Even the scuttle was a GENG predator.
Oh no.
Oh boy. And the scuttles are known to be pretty, pretty. They don't go subjective. They're just kind of neutral.
All right, now I feel like this is a Hail Mary already, and I know it's kind of crazy, right? Like that's not even 1,000 gold in the lead or anything like that. Gideon did actually go back home, but it felt like he was like, well, my jungle is doomed. I need to find a gank. He also had not very much to do, and so now that his topside camps have respawned, Canyon completes the double scuttle. Hasn't actually taken his blue, but it will be a double scuttle triple buff.
It's just
for the Xin Zhao.
I mean, the leads they have already in every lane stack up to be 1,000 gold. Like 1,000 gold's pre-6 minutes. I said 4,000 is like the worst case scenario at 20 for most GENG games. They're kind of speed running this one a little bit, as it will be able to rush this dragon down with the change to grubs. If you have bottom side prio, and frankly, if you have prio in every lane, it's really easy to do the dragon. You see some of the pathing and some of the fact that Gideon isn't playing the game. Now they could just take the dragon and reset, and then we'll also be able to contest grubs at 8 minutes. So
Gideon shadowing towards the top side, but look at this, King just giving him absolutely no avenue in. Canyon on this dragon right now. Gideon's going to walk over yet another ward that he will be able to at least remove, but Canyon gets the news that he's not even going to have to worry about getting a smite timing, as he just does a bit of a fadeaway jump shot. Finally will be taking his blue buff, as GENG getting a bit of a shove here towards this bottom side. And yeah, it's
perfect game pace. I mean, I know it's early.
Wow.
No, I don't know. I just started thinking about it, and I was like, what if this is the one?
Well, now that the grubs have been changed, what are we talking about for perfect games? Is if you drop one of the grubs, is it all fine now? Is like no one arguing against that?
I feel like now that grubs only spawn once, and there's an extra time between them and the dragon, I think it's actually okay to say 3 grubs is perfect.
Oh, Chovy just missed a Q.
True.
Oh, never mind. Nongshim are well and truly in this.
Well, if he misses a Q, it's not a perfect game. I think that's in the rules.
Yeah, no. It's imperfect. Absolutely. Okay, well, he is going to be able to clear out this wave pretty comfortably.
Because I do think if, like now that they've made the grubs desynced with the dragon, it's not just the handshake there every time. You can do stuff like what GENG have with the lead, whereas in the past, like, yes, you have a prio in bottom lane and you're going to get the grubs, or the dragon, but it's really hard to make sure you get both and deny all 3 grubs. But now that it's desynced, like if you are really having the most perfectest of perfect games, you can get all 3. I'm much more open to saying that like grubs don't count for perfect game on this patch. Yeah, I still think like I could go either way, but this time it's more realistic to me.
Kane missing 0 experience from that wave. Feels pretty nice.
Yeah. That was a very satisfying clear.
It was. And so it is only spelt 800. So 800 gold. Level 6 is gained by both of the bottom laners on GENG. They immediately move into the river as Lehans is moving over. Yeah, he does have his Unbreakable Will, as Chovy and Jiu going to be walking in at the same time. The close in from GENG is so scary. Hook going to connect there onto Lehans, but he backs away. Keen's moving over. There's an equalizer from Kingen, but now he's going to get closed off. Still, they dive on towards Canyon, who flashes over the wall, tries to get towards Kingen to get out, but that is not going to help him. Empress Divide onto Chovy as they boop away Gideon. These Nongshim health bars are going low, but they're standing up in this team fight really nicely. Kingen getting over as well. He is still looking aggressive. The hook is going to be returned, though, and Ruler just takes down his former bottom lane partner. Extendo Beam not able to take down Keen, but the Grubs are trying to. Ruler might have to try and get out of here, and Giu's going to be able to get a kill. I don't know about that one from Ruler, and Gideon doesn't even fall. It's a double kill for the Zeri.
I'm going to certify it. I'm going to certify it. Picks up 2 kills, gets an assist on the fight as well. And why force that, GENG? You had such a good position. Obviously, Cannon got collapsed on, and he was not in a great spot. But then Ruler flashing the wall with no arcane shift to go through, and then trying to force on the Alistar. A lot went wrong. A lot went crazy there for GENG. Their whole lead is gone now, and Zeri got accelerated. At the start of this fight, it looks a little bit risky for GENG to try to continue to hold the Grubs, so they back away and try to push on to Kingen. But at the same time here, Canyon is isolated, right? He does have his ultimate, is able to flash over the wall, but Kingen just gets inside of the ult and doesn't care. This charm here onto Calyx maybe looks like it's, a little bit of a team fight save play here from Chovy, but look at how split GENG are. They really want to rejoin. And I think they thought maybe Kingen backed here.
Oh, no, he was on a ward.
Oh, now he's on a ward, yeah.
They knew exactly what was going on.
I don't know, Ruler just really thought he had the angle. Watch this from Ruler.
Maybe they thought that Kingen had then gone home. Object permanence, the difficulty, perhaps.
Yeah, it was not the right call, let's just say.
Yeah. I would agree. Nongshim actually finding a beautiful fight, though. I think so much of that was the positioning of Kingen's equalizer to start off the fight. And I felt, because Kingen was sort of by himself, it was going to be a problem. But Nongshim were the team that were able to move a little more like water, right?
Yeah.
Stay together, focus on targets, and GENG was split, unable to really get too much done.
Exactly.
Doesn't give Nongshim a big advantage or anything, but we mentioned already, this composition scales really nicely, especially with the main character Giu's situation on this Zeri, and he's now sitting at 2-0-1.
I mean, they got 2 Grubs out of the fight as well. It wasn't just like they gave up the whole objective to win.
Well, Giu's going to come on in as Duro. That buffer was gorgeous! Gideon unable to use the Keeper's Verdict, and Keen wants to go to the skies. That anchor didn't quite work out there, and to the skies comes down again, and now Giu's just going to kill both of them.
I don't think it's normally allowed to certify twice. But guess what? I'm gonna do it.
No, you have to re-up your certifications. Well, unfortunately, Giu thought that it was on a daily basis, not an annual basis, and so he just needs to go back and get that one sorted.
Well,
he absolutely did.
Unfortunately, a bit of a misplay there from Keen. Thinks he has the damage, isn't able to get the 2 of the skies he's looking for.
Emperor's Divide not going to land onto Chovy there, as Canyon was right ready for a re-engage.
I think Lehens was aware that Canyon could come over there, wanted to kind of split them in 2 there. And Chovy gets caught. Ooh, that was scary for multiple reasons. They're going to look to take this dragon because they have control of the mid lane here after that attempted play by Calyx, and I just don't know if there's really anything that Nongshim can do about it. Yuntal's is the first completed item across the rift here for Giu, but he's nowhere near the pit right now, and it's not really the big spike he's looking for necessarily to crush a team fight despite the lead that he has. But GENG, 2 dragon lead, feels really nice. With the soul was kind of hidden from us there, I think.
It was Chemtech.
Oh no.
A little bit unfortunate, as this buffer was queued by Duro.
Yeah.
And then Gideon takes so much damage, but he's Poppy.
Yeah, and he charges away. It's hard to kill him. Dodge on the dredge line from Giu here is amazing, and then Keen going in here was just very questionable.
I mean, he was priced in, right? Because Giu just chases them down and kills both of them if they don't kill him.
Yeah, I think when you look at it that way, it's definitely the right way to look at it.
Shelly is so psyched.
But Giu is popping off, and this is the kind of thing I said at the early part of this game. Is like, well, you know, I think the best angle is a Zeri has a Zeri moment. He's had 2 now.
Oh yeah.
He's 500 gold over Ruler, and the clock ticked a little bit faster this time towards relevance here in this Nongshim composition. Keen 0-1 still getting towards that first item. Will be able to do a ton of damage to this relatively squishy carry composition.
Ooh, Duro looking for a little bit of an anchor, but was spotted on vision, so Calyx able to shift the sands, get himself out of the way. And honestly, if we're having a look at this mid lane, nothing really to report outside of the fact that Calyx was getting pushed in the early game, which is, you know, what we come to expect. And they did lose out in the jungle matchup. That feels like old news now.
Yeah,
it feels like it's completely irrelevant, as Gideon is going to be so valuable as this game goes on, as this Poppy. We mentioned already, this guy is so good at this champion. And a lot of our doubts were based on the fact that GENG had so many tools to just make a snowball and comfortably ride it for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I do think that when you consider how good Kingen has been at Rumble in these types of games where he gets a lead too, he often just takes over them.
Yeah.
Now you have Jiu on arguably his best champion, even though it's not as meta right now as all the other champions he has to play, and it was a big reason why we didn't like this draft, because he locked this in, and we're like, oh man, now you're not going to win anywhere, it's going to be too slow. He's accelerated. It feels like things just keep coming up Nongshim. You know, the start of the draft was amazing. The latter part, we're like, but the early game here is looking good. If you know, GENG are going to get upset by Nongshim in game 1, I feel like it kind of looks exactly like this. Everything is going the way that Nongshim want it to. That's why the coaching staff is super psyched. We're a long way away from this game being done.
This is like, it's also an example of greed paying off.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what Nongshim's draft is. It's greedy. Because they wanted to have like this beautiful teamfight composition, but oftentimes if you've got a Zeri, you need to have something to balance it out so you have at least priority somewhere in the early game. But like the just win mentality also kind of works, you know? Like, how do we win? Well, just win. Yeah, and if you do manage to get that snowball rolling in the early game, then it can work. GENG
certainly made some big mistakes, which gives you the opportunity. And if you can seize on it, you know, that's how you end up with a 4-0 Zeri in a game like this. As I see the teleport before this Herald is committed to, which I think is wise.
A lot of vision now available as GENG will sweep out this ward that does get just out of range of that control ward. Kingen's on the bottom side with teleport in hand.
Yeah, I think he's probably just going to keep pushing this, as there's just not really a way to enter here, even if he did TP. Take an opportunity to back instead and pick up his Leandries.
Ulahan still looking for an opportunity. Calyx should be able to shift his way out if he'd like to, and doesn't even have to. Kingen thinking about lining this up as Feats of Warfare are in the back pocket of Nongshim, so it's just first brick. And both teams sort of fighting for that angle, see who can grab the Feats of Strength.
And, you know, Feats of Strength were, you know, we kind of decided they weren't that great, you know, throughout the early part of this year. We're like, oh, okay, they're big, but, like, not that big. It's not actually that game-changing. But with the changes on this patch to Tier 3 boots being a little bit cheaper, it is actually pretty significant, especially with a comp like this that got a lead that it wasn't really supposed to have in the bottom lane. It does feel really nice if you can actually secure that. So Kingen backed away, stopped to go, you stayed off vision. GENG were able to retreat, but then he pushed in and got a little bit more damage onto that turret. You can see the top turret as well, sitting at half health. Calyx is trying to push in towards it. Doesn't have a Nashor's Tooth, but is burning away at Chovy to try to get this wave in.
Yep. It is still the Rod of Ages build by Chovy here as well, looking for Leandri's second.
Yeah, Faker is kind of been the guy all year long who's been someone going for Malignance every time. Chovy's kind of stuck with this one. We've seen some variation, but Rod of Ages, big nerfs on this patch. As you were alluding to, as Calyx really wants that turret.
Not going to quite go down just yet. As you can see, the rest of Nongshim well and truly out onto the map now. They're being able to even out the vision control as well. You can see, especially towards the top side, they're able to get a fair bit back. But Canyon sneaking in, looking for an opportunity towards Jiu. Will get slowed down by the Wind Becomes Lightning. But it feels to me like GENG have tightened up a little bit here. Things were definitely, like we say quite often, fast and loose in the earlier stages. Now Rift Herald goes down, and we'll see whether GENG can get themselves towards Soul Point by utilizing that to grab some Dragon control.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be control of the Dragon over to GENG. Can they get the turret as well? Would be massive for them.
Yeah.
Nongshim are a little bit indecisive. Like, Kingen's not pushing the bottom lane because Jace is still there, so he decides to come over here. And now Chovy may just clear this wave and take the first turret, which would deny them that feat of strength.
Well, Canyon moving on in here. If he steals this away, that's also feats of strength. As Keeper's Verdict goes completely wide. Canyon walking down the equalizer, though, is a little dangerous. He is just going to tank it to see what he can get done. As Gideon down very low, the Dragon forgotten about by Nongshim. They'll just give that up, but they do manage to back away. Yeah, so Soul Point does go to GENG. They get themselves feats of strength as well, but Nongshim, they leave no one on the floor. And thankfully for Nongshim fans, Jiu's still alive.
And it was, you know, for Nongshim, a really tough decision-making exercise, right, as to what to do there, because, you know, you had Kingen pushing, but King comes down and catches the wave, so now you no longer can threaten that turret. Herald gets dropped because you gave that Herald up in the last fight because GENG had too much control there. So you either have to give the Dragon, which is Soul Point, to defend your turret, or give your turret and look for a forced fight there. They kind of did neither. They weren't able to get control of the Dragon, and they lost their turret anyways. So GENG gets Soul Point and get feats of strength off the turret destruction in the mid lane. So GENG now back in that 1,000 gold lead that they had earlier on.
All right. see what the plan is. Because you know that Lehens has a plan. Right now, he's wandering towards the Fox Lady on the top side of the map. But I think Nongshim just understanding that they've got 2 Zeri moments. You certified it already. You just need to get the certification, right? And then you slow it down. I don't think they want to give GENG a free Chemtech soul. No. But I think, you know, the soul point, a little bit sad that they lost control of the pit, but all-inning for a fight immediately afterwards was going to be a mistake. Time is on their side, and I think playing things a little more patiently is working out for them.
Yeah, I think once Zeri has 2 items, you start to feel a little bit more comfortable with team fighting. And there's the Runins. Okay, so that's completed. Ruler also has his 2-item spike as well, but Zeri can have a lot more explosive team fight power, especially if GENG decide to try to go in and follow up on an Ahri play, for example. And you have the Alistar. Like, there's a lot of great tools here for Nongshim's composition. 2 items for Calyx is very soon going to be on the way here. Might even be as we speak, as he's backing right now. But if he grabs the Nashor's Tooth here, Nongshim are ready to fight. Now, the Dragon timer is 3 minutes. Otacon is going to be up earlier than that, so that's where vision control is going to be focused for both of these teams. And GENG, and I mean, like, they're still ahead in gold, but it feels like one of the most precarious GENG positions they've been in, you know? Like, they're usually way more ahead at this point in time, and the scaling aspects of Nongshim's composition must be a little bit stressful to kind of think about and postulate how you're going to make sure you can close this one out. And vision control around Otacon is step 1.
Well, True Barrage is going to give away that GENG has a ward in that brush. Lehens really getting chopped down by that one. Gideon with a Mega Cone in the area. Steadfast Presence not really helping him out just yet, and Mega Cone does just remove the Ahri from the situation.
The Honey Fruit speed up charm dodge?
Yeah, there we go. That's the tech. As Chovy now looking for Calyx, who does get electrocuted, and Chovy gets out of there, doesn't hit the charm. No worries. Ruler looking to see what he can do as Lehens. Oh my goodness. These Mystic Shots really starting to hurt.
I mean, they chunked everybody's out. Like, they pushed out the Azir, they pushed out the players that were hiding in that brush earlier, pushed Lehens back, and now they're just like, well, you have to come to us on this Otacon. Like, you have to respond. They don't fully commit to it, but I like how GENG is playing this. They need to get something a little bit more concrete, though, before we feel really comfortable with their position. They're holding on to that vision control, but if they just kind of back away from Otacon and Nongshim keep farming, Nongshim not start Otacon, then it gets a little more stressful. They're starting Otacon, however.
They are indeed starting Otacon. You can see there's a lot of armor and magic resist now missing from Gideon and Jiu.
They're committing.
Yeah, Keeper's Verdict comes down, and the buffer is gorgeous. Down goes Gideon, and now it is just a matter of 1 smite from Canyon. He goes in, he grabs the Otacon, and now he's on top of Jiu. Will the knockup come on through? The flash out from Kingin, and they are just trying to keep as many alive as they can, but Nongshim, you didn't need to do that.
No, you didn't need to do that. And I get the idea, because you have Poppy, and so you're like, well, we just keep him away, and it'll be fine.
Drew has done that a second time in a row.
Yeah, no, he does hit those. But if he doesn't hit that, then you probably end up having a pretty nice fight after this all is said and done. But because he is locked down and killed, Canyon gets the guaranteed smite, and it's just as simple as that. Like, this fight, when he looks for this, if he channels it towards Canyon, he can't hit Canyon. If he channels it towards Duro and Duro presses Q perfectly, which he did, which we've seen in the past. We've seen Beryl do this. We've seen a lot of Nautiluses do this. I mean, it's a practice technique.
The fact that Duro's doing it like it's almost like it happens automatically is what it looks like. Well, in this game especially, pretty impressive.
It's one of those things where I feel like the only way you guarantee GENG get back control of this game fully and kind of wipe away some of the scaling aspects we've been talking about with the lead they have is to commit to the Otacon there like that. As Chovy.
Yep. He is elected that it's Zeri that's going to die, as Mega Blast Cone does bring Chovy into the Dragon Pit. This is Chemtech Soul, though, ladies and gentlemen. And Chovy is dashing over walls, looking for some opportunities. Empress Divide's going to throw him back, and it's Canyon that's the target. He throws down the ulti, the equalizer not going to connect, and Canyon somehow survives! Chovy is tanking 2 people, though that's another kill going over to Jiu, as Arula gets hit by the extendo beam. But the fact that Canyon lives really keeps GENG in with a shot as far as this dragon is concerned.
There's no ults here for Nongshim. I don't know if they can actually fight this without Jiu's especially, but with no equalizer, King's gonna have to do some big heavy lifting. He's charging up his heat, and he wants to go in.
Yeah, well, he gets in, he mega cones into the back line as they just evaporate evaporate him. Giu trying to stand his ground. These are some low health bars, an opportunity for the Zeri. Gideon goes in, and down he goes as well. And Giu, he was a one-man army in the early game. And unfortunately, it's not enough later on. As Ruler tanking up this Chemtech Dragon will be able to take that one down. That's going to be a soul. And Nongshim, they kept it interesting in the early game, but I think that may have been their last gasp.
I think that definitely was, unfortunately. And I think that it's awkward here because look at how this fight breaks out. Huge opportunity, right? Calyx sees, I can kill Canyon here. I can split this fight in half. We have equalizer.
Well, I think we all thought Canyon was dead.
But Canyon plays it better. And it's just like the last fight as well on Otacon, where they're like, oh, Gideon knocks them away. We win this fight.
And Help is pretty keen on how Canyon played that last one.
And this fight is just unplayable without Giu's ult and without Rumble's ult. I get the idea, like, King in charge just heat and went in, but I think it was optimistic.
Oh, okay. A little bit of a disconnect there as well. I think Gideon knew that he was dead.
Yeah, I think Gideon was trying to save Giu with that play, and unfortunately, he did not. I mean, like, the fact that Canyon outplays it is just like how Duro outplayed the Keeper's Verdict moments before, right? It's like these types of things with GENG, we're like, oh man, we've done this in scrims. Like, we have this step on Otacon, we poppy ult, it's easy. And then GENG's just like one step ahead of you. One small step is all it needs. Canyon living there, playing that fight as well as he did, going back in onto Calyx and taking him out, wins the fight for them.
And you know what the worst thing is? It's now easier for him to do it. As Chovy goes in, the charm is blocked by Lehens, and yeah, my heart would go on, will go on is what I had in my mind there as the Alistair makes the sacrificial play once again. Wow, if you remember, you know, it's been 13 years, but I still have that one in my mind. By 13, I mean 15. My God, that video is old. It's okay, Baron being started up here by GENG. I don't think that Nongshim are going to be able to do anything about it as Duro, Hex flashing in, looking for that opportunity as never mind. Actually, no, it was Hex Flash, and now he has his real flash up. Calyx is going to be able to grab some bounty gold by taking out this outer turret on the bottom side of the map.
Duro has had so many good Nautilus games this season. It's just a pick he's very clearly comfortable on. He loves his Blitzcrank too, as we know, but this is kind of a similar type of you know, champion. It's not quite the same reach, as you can see. He's just on the edge of hitting these, and the guy is always at the right place at the right time fishing for these opportunities. And sometimes he comes up big with them, as he did in that Otacon fight and the fight before where he was able to buffer the Keeper's Verdict there too. Just really good at Nautilus. And GENG are now too big to fail, I would say.
Well, Canyon is just walking towards Gideon, and Gideon, with a late steadfast presence, is going to just leave. And the fact that he's allowed to do that is a big deal. Calyx trying to dissuade Canyon from diving underneath the turret solo. I don't think he would have done it necessarily, especially with GENG able to push for free here in this mid lane. Creating those man advantages, getting in there, getting control of the jungle. And Nongshim really looking a little worse for wear in this game.
And, I mean, this is just turrets falling like they're nothing, like they're made of paper into a 3,000, now 4,000 Red Bull Baron power play here for GENG. 8,000 gold the lead. And they're just fishing for any pick. A kill onto a carry means the game ends. Waves are crashing through. Land's looking for an angle.
They feel like they may have identified something here as Canyon throws down the ulti. He's trying to keep himself alive. They're losing their base in response, but the jungler does go down. Now Calyx, a possible angle here, but he is just anchored up and destroyed. Great charm there from Chovy to start it all. And so that spells the end of the inhibitor. It evens it out to a 4v4. And Nongshim, they're already so far behind. Gideon goes in. The equalizer is desperate, but it is on the right position. Ruler going kind of crazy here against Giu, who just kills him. What? The prediction from Duro! Oh, give this man POM. Recency bias can get out of my video games. I want to write it down right now. This guy is so good. He lands another one. He may fall. He doesn't even die.
Duro, that was insane.
What?
I mean, I wasn't kidding when I said he was good at Nautilus, but that's not exactly the level of play I was expecting. I think that's not a Nautilus thing, that's just a genius God Gamer moment.
Well, he lands yet another hook. This time it is just a sad Kingen who is watching his Nexus explode. It does exactly that. And it was a little bit more of a roller coaster than I was expecting, but in the end, GENG do take the expected Game 1 win.
There have been a few games recently with GENG where things are looking a little bit rough in the early mid. Like that D+ Game 1 I was talking about where you're like, oh, there were some big mistakes. There was some greed out of GENG, right? Almost hubris in some of those moments, like Ruler's Flash, and you're like, uh-oh, Zeri has 4 kills. Is this losable? And then GENG just play every other aspect of the game so much better that, like, okay, so they lost an early game. So what?
I feel like it was, oh, I guess we need to lock in.
Yeah, and
and then they did.
Just some of the calls that Nongshim made were not incorrect. The attempt on the Otacon with the Poppy ult seems like a good idea, but Duro outplays it. The attempt there to cut Canyon off with the Emperor's Divide to then control that fight going into Seoul seems like a good idea on paper, seems like a fantastic catch by Calyx, but they get outplayed by Canyon, who actually plays it so brilliantly and takes him out using his ultimate there on the flash forward. And it's moments like this where you're like, can anyone stop this team? Even with a 4-kill Zeri, with a gold lead early, with an incredibly strong scaling comp that has a Poppy in it, Nongshim couldn't get it done. With what draft can you beat this team is a question everyone's going to be asking.
Well, exactly. And Nongshim, they're going to have to come up with the answer. They do have the ability to stay on the blue side if they would like, but losing on blue side feels so incredibly rough. We're going to go to a short break. When we get back to space, going to break that one down, and we'll see whether Nongshim can crack the code.
빨리 노플이긴 해. 대리 공
호텔 맞을래요? 앞에 거부터?
대리 노.
호비 노플? 타워부터 할게. 와, 이게 죽어? 노플이야. 야, 오케이. 이게 죽네? 야, 셀레네땅 나오나? 나 메어플 럼블한테 되긴 해. 나 스킬 없다. 스킬 없어. 괜찮을 것 같긴 한데. 아, 괜찮아. 호비? 끌어줄게. 럼블 럼블이야. 오케이. 라인 이쪽 와서 한번 해내자. 계속 와봐. 나 메어플 보게. 왜 저기 나가? 아니다. 나이스.
힘싸움이 뭔가.
죽여.
And, I mean, he's already making quite a name for himself very early. It feels like that one weak point is being chiseled away at by the weak point itself. He's patching his own hole.
Yeah.
He's just super good now. As Nongshim, like you said, get blue side again here, of course, but if they do bring it to 3, that'll be GENG's, but they get one more opportunity to have a better draft. We liked the first half of their draft a lot in the last game. The second half didn't necessarily matter because there were some shenanigans and they got ahead. Let's see what they can build for us here in Game 2.
Yeah, this is a really interesting change-up, though. Nongshim banning away Nefiri. Nefiri wasn't even considered in the last game, as, of course, Poppy, very high priority for Gideon in particular, as well as Canyon just going straight towards Xin, which is the best jungler on the patch. So, pretty obvious, and now we can see the deviations starting, as the Talia is going to continue to be banned, Vi and Gwen both also staying the same. And I think Sejuani makes a whole lot of sense as a final ban once again here for GENG. And will it just be the victor? As we were talking about Kalista as well. Kalista actually made it to the second round. We can see the priority on that pick is falling down as, okay, the Nidalee is now going to start being banned. You can see what happens. Like, Nongshim recognized that we are actively going to give him Xin Zhao. And then when he is not the obvious pick, you have to ban away so many weird things to stop Canyon from running amok in the game.
Will we just see Calyx first pick Victor in this situation, or will they go for the Sejuani? I feel like they're going to go for Sejuani, actually giving Jiu the power in this one. After a pretty good individual performance from him on Zeri in Game 1. Definitely feel a little bit more comfortable making this call. Not saying that Varus is not an insanely strong pick that's definitely first pickable, but you are putting your eggs in the Geo basket, which has definitely not been the shiniest and happiest basket so far for Nongshim this year, but great start in Game 1. This does give over Sedge to GENG if they would like it. Also, Chovy can end up playing Victor if they want to go that way as well.
Yeah, and he has had, you know, the most iconic play of the year thus far on the Victor, that blind death ray.
Or
live in my live in my brain forever.
If we just go Renata, Callista, and just try to outpush the Varus lane, or we go Ashe, Renata.
And Renata Callista with Poppy Fearless Band and Talia just regular band doesn't feel too bad. And this is... So we have to, you know, go back memory lane just a little bit here, as Rula did spend some time outside of the LCK. Callista was permanently banned against Rula in particular for forever. Because he was just too good at it. And it got to a point where he played the champion like twice in the whole year. And we still had to talk about Rula being great at Callista. It's just that no team would ever let him play it.
I remember in 2021, in my debut casting year of LCK, Callista was not very meta, and it was banned against Ruler on GENG every single game.
Yep.
And he gets his hands on it here. You get the Galio, which is a flex pick, of course, but likely to go into the Victor here in the mid lane. This Elise doesn't really fill me with a ton of joy because you're playing into a ranged matchup. You already knew that. And yes, Callista does have to get up close and personal to trade appropriately, but I feel like it's a really risky pick here in a draft where later on, if you fall behind, and you know, I keep saying it, but usually teams aren't ahead against GENG because they play the mid game so incredibly well. Then the Elise is so squishy, and you're constantly fishing for picks when there aren't very many great targets, at least not yet in this draft. The Sion ban here makes a lot of sense when you consider the Victor and the Varus and the fact that they banned the Nidalee already. They're kind of leaning towards probably just going to put Kingen on a tank here, so I like this ban a lot for GENG.
Yeah, I like it, especially when you've got a Callista as well, not necessarily super well known for just dealing with tanks.
Renata is not great into the draft. It's great in the lane, I feel, but it's not great into the draft here for Nongshim because there isn't a whole lot of dive. Like, there isn't a lot of, like, I'm running at you in, oh, I hope you don't, you know, Renata ult me and berserk me while I'm coming in. So I wonder if there's a way that Nongshim can find a top lane pick that's a little bit more safe. Like, yeah, they banned the Renekton away. Maybe even a Gnar here feels okay.
Maybe. Wouldn't mind that.
I'm trying to think of what's the way to keep the most space possible into this, you know, Renata Galio. If you buy range into this Callista, because you already have the Varus and you have Victor, you could just, you know, outplay GENG in team fights by playing around that range and playing around zoning really well.
I'm really curious about what Canyon's going to do here. I think the obvious pick right now is Sejuani, but they do need damage. And so a Pantheon going down the Ona route, he is going to lock that one away. And I think it fits the composition a little bit better, but it does give Gideon the Sedge, and it fits into this draft really, really well.
Okay, Sejuani going to get locked in here, so it feels like they're going to go for a melee pick in the top lane.
Or they're just going to pick Veigar. No, they're not. That's just Lehens being Lehens.
I feel like Gnar is the safest. I was wondering, like, is Kingen bold enough to go blind GP here? I don't think so.
Oh, man, that'd be sick, though.
Because that also does really wonders into this comp zoning-wise. A little bit risky into the Pantheon, but... Oh, this wasn't the one I had in mind.
Yeah, so...
Blind as well.
Yeah, Yorick hasn't necessarily been performing super well here in the LCK, which is why we groan a little bit, even if elsewhere he has found some success.
All right, so win or loss, how many, with this Camille lock-in, how many deaths do you think Lehens has this game on the Elise?
Ooh.
I'm going 7+.
I was thinking 7+.
7+.
That was my immediate thought in my brain.
Even if he wins this game, it is a 7+ death game on this Elise, because who do you find? Who do you catch? Like, you know, there's not a lot of angles outside the lane. The lane isn't even that great. Like, I feel like this Elise pick is really going to come back to bite Nongshim, especially because they opted for Sejuani Yorick as their top jungle setup here, or jungle top setup. And they did it blind, so now King gets to play the Camille. The lockdown onto this Varus is pretty insane. The follow-up Camille Galio, I mean, it's a tale as old as time. I feel like if they played Gnar, it could have been the same thing. Like, King could have still locked the Camille and played the Camille into the Gnar, and then Pantheon plays topside, and the Gnar gets crushed. But you're playing a Yorick, so your team fight power goes down a lot. And your map control goes down a lot because they already have a Pantheon Now they have a Camille. I feel like, again, the first half of the draft was okay for Nongshim, but the second half really didn't hit the mark for me.
No, I would kind of agree with you. I think that Yorick feels like a cop-out a little bit because it does mean it's like, oh, we've identified that we're not really going to be able to team fight against you. Haha, we'll play side lane. And we've seen that that hasn't necessarily worked out. It's a little bit more difficult to be able to play that. But this is Lehens on the Elise. So it tracks a little differently to our other Elises. We'll see whether he can make the magic happen and bring us to a game 3. Make it at least a 5-gamer here today.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, here we are onto the Rift for the second game of our final series. And already, Nongshim have opted in for a little bit of cheese. Looking to see whether they can find anyone here towards the bottom side. You may as well. Does sacrifice a little bit of an ability to get deep vision down, but worth doing to see whether you can possibly try and find yourself an angle.
100% about the bottom 2v2. You know, if you get control of that brush first, sometimes that alone is worth a 5-man down there. You're not necessarily hoping to kill someone who face checks, but you get that ward on the brush, and sometimes that alone can be how you get level 2 first and win the lane. So we see this a ton when it's, you know, something like an Elise lane, or if it's Varus, you know, some of the double marksman comps we saw from T1 in the past, where you're playing Halo Blades Varus trying to win, you're playing an Ashe lane, you need to win. If it's like Renata versus, you know, Renata Draven versus a Kalista lane, all that kind of stuff, because this is the value right here.
Well, they're going to spot Lehens immediately. We're going to check out Canyon as he flashes over the wall, and he didn't want us to check it out.
It was really funny. The emote, he's like, don't look at me!
Yeah, the emote was so perfect.
It was so perfect, could not have been more perfect.
Especially when they were like fighting 2v2 there on the bottom side, as Canyon is just going to clear the enemy bottom side.
And they got the vision in that brush, and then it still didn't.
What did Gideon say to Canyon this morning, by the way? Because both games, Canyon has just kind of ruined his day.
And look at the ward where Gideon is. Like, they know where he is. They know exactly where he is. And so Canyon can just very safely come over here for this game.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Calyx gonna get jumped on. There's a flash. The flash taunt comes on out there as well. The Winds of War, and there is, oh, the shield, but the Colossal Smash. And Chovy, he could tank up that last turret shot. Oh, God. They add a first blood to destroying Gideon's jungle.
And now Lehens has level 2. They didn't win level 2 off the ward, and it is a Renata that is picked into the Elise. That was not sure if that was the right call. Not the level 1, but the, oh God.
Okay, well,
yeah, so,
Victor's won 7 in a row, and that may end here.
Yeah, that's...
unless Gideon has something to say about it. Lehens is skittering after Dura. It's a great handshake, but doesn't connect it with Jiu, and Ruler just hops out of the way.
Now he's hopping back in. Like, I think he was considering a flash Q on Jiu there.
Sakun going to connect there as Ruler walking up once again. He's slowed as he flashes and just picks up the kill onto Jiu. Up into the air goes the Elise, and down goes Ruler, but that was a crazy play. Sort of made my brain explode a little bit as Keen will find a hookshot into King. In the meantime, Canyon is killing Sejuani. And if you just, oh my goodness,
God.
That was cool.
Look, Canyon's failure. So Duro wasn't level 3. I guess didn't have bailout available, or maybe I'm not sure what he skilled at level 2.
No, he's only level 2.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure he didn't have it.
He got the shield.
So we'll go back to this. I mean, Canyon takes Gideon's jungle away, knows where Gideon is, so he knows he can try for this. And Pantheon's damage is kind of obscene at this point in time. Had the empowered Q, and yeah, I saw that on the player cam from a moment before. So at this point, Ruler's like, can I flash for this? Duro does not have level 3, does not have the bailout. And then Ruler doesn't tank this and cleanse it for Duro. Duro has to flash, gets perma'd, and then Jiu's too low. Ruler's like, all right, I'm going in for this.
Yeah, and it was because Duro actually hit the skill shot that got Jiu low enough, and so then the flash auto meant that the auto was in the air, so there was no way that he was doing anything.
If Canyon gets, if he like...
Oh, here's the dive on the top side of the map as the bailout not quite going to work out here as Gideon survives. And that's a kill going over to Kingin, and they'll also grab themselves a plate. As Keen gonna have to flash. He does manage to live, and Canyon's like, oh, I guess I'll just kill him then. And he does. Gideon's gonna go down though, as now Duro is just fighting off multiple people. Lehen's trying to tank. Duro's able to drink most of his potion, and Kingen will finally get the auto reset to take him down.
I looked for a second like it was
That was so weird.
Kingen can't get me. He can't hit me.
Kingen did hold on to the flash, and so thankfully, even though that looked very frustrating
All right,
for Kingen, he didn't opt to use it.
I need like to get out of replay purgatory and reset my brain for a second. Okay, so up here they look for the kill on the ruler. He gets the bailout. Gideon tanks the turret, gets the flash away to reset aggro, and then
they walk in, and the cocoon goes wide,
Look,
which is
cocoon
why
wall.
this is really awful.
yeah. And then Kingan's like, I'm gonna get you.
And he does.
He does eventually get him without flashing, which is smart.
Yep.
And then down here, Gio has cleanse, but no flash. Keen goes in. Keen goes deep in, but actually gets out just at the right moment here with the flash. Really well played. Canyon gets the kill with one more Q. So 2 kills for a Pantheon, 2 kills for Yorick. Kind of leaning towards the Pantheon side of things myself.
Definitely, as far as Genji's game plan is concerned, but Nongshim really need Kingen to be ahead to be able to get any sort of value at all, right? You need to be able to put pressure in these side lanes, and with a couple of kills with a bit of extra money, he's definitely going to be happy about it. Keen, though, is doing just fine, and remember, it's a Camille. She does true damage. She'll be able to one-shot Jiu if she ever is left alone, and Jiu doesn't have a lot of mobility options in order to get out of the way.
It's hard for Jiu to find anything there without level 6 or without Gideon. I think now that Gideon's here, they could have maybe, if they had a wave, tried to make something happen there, but Canyon's nearby. They don't opt for it. They don't opt for a dragon either. GENG on the top side of the map. Grubs, of course, spawned at 8 minutes now. It feels like we're watching a pre-patch game with the late swap there, but they're still just going to push the Yorick down, right? And Keen not punished.
Big colossal smash there as the dragon has been started on top of a ward here, and Gideon, I think, smells that there is a bit of a problem, especially given the fact that Chovy is able to clear out that control ward. No control of mid lane here for Nongshim means that they do have to forfeit this, but there's a control ward in the back of that pit. Nongshim will know exactly what's going on with this dragon. Some arcane storming happening in the mid lane.
It's not really a fair fight here because Chovy can just ult in. He has mid prio.
Well, Keen not going to be able to just hookshot onto a person. That's not how that kind of works, as now he might need to get himself out of here. Cocoon going to connect, though, and Keen survives for a little bit longer, but Gideon is just going to put him down. Flail to the back of the head is going to work there, and 10 seconds in the death chamber there for Keen. No teleport means that this dragon should go over to Nongshim pretty comfortably.
And kind of a weird setup there for GENG, as they didn't have bottom side prio, they had mid prio, but Chovy didn't ult in, and then Keen just got cut off. It was really well played by Nongshim. Like, Nongshim were like, okay, well, Keen's trying to get in, we're not going to allow that.
Made it! Oh, goes down. Looks a lot like an Ouroboros from Xenoblade 3.
Yeah.
With this particular skin.
I can see that.
Very, very cool. Anyway, GENG will just come on over. I think they'll be able to collect these grubs.
Yeah, I mean, this time
there's anything that Nongshim can do about that.
Yeah, this time Nongshim are nowhere near the objective, and Chovy also could still ult over here. He didn't not opt to do so the last time around, but this is looking like it's going to be a full set here, as mid prio makes it so difficult for anyone to get near. Canyon, all he has to do is not smite the second one, and then he can guarantee the third goes over his way with smite. Not even a handshake on this in any way. I do love the change to grubs. It's my favorite change on this match, to be honest.
Yeah, I really like it. I think that there was a lot to keep track of, and so just being one round of grubs makes it feel special, as Chovy is going to have to taunt up Lehen's here to try and keep himself alive, but he absolutely does. Flash still available, no real threat here, and with the fact that like Chovy's Galio has had permanent mid priority against a Victor, I just feel like that's unfair. I just don't think you're really normally allowed to do that.
Yeah, I mean, when you have this much MR, and you know, it's really just about spacing for the Victor, make sure that Chovy can't actually trade with you or interact with you, and just kind of keep him at bay. But Chovy doesn't take that much damage at this stage, so he kind of just pushes this through and walks away.
I think if he's hit by spells only by Calyx, he kind of just heals with this Spectre's Cal.
Yeah.
It's a little bit unfair.
It means the minions get pushed through the Calyx as well if he's only hitting Chovy. And
yeah.
kind of frustrating to play out. It's going to teleport back to mid as Lehens has a Cocoon angle.
Oh, I'm just watching the cannon, and it goes wide. But the Cocoon, like you say, does get off and does do some work there as both Cleanse and Heal invested here on GenG's side. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Gio missed the cannon. And that's all. I was very distracted by that, Wolf. I'm sorry.
Well, I think that's why
from now on.
That's why Ruler was walking like that without knowing where Lehens was, but he had Cleanse, so it's fine.
Yep.
And unfortunately here for Gideon, there isn't going to be an angle to punish Keen. They wanted to get Keen so bad in this bottom lane multiple times. They at least collapsed on him in the Dragon fight.
Yeah, they got him one time.
Yeah. I feel like the game is still very much a pretty even one, especially when you consider the scaling element of the Victor in this game. We're going to have to see Nongshim stabilize here a little bit through this mid game. As it's only an 800 gold lead right now, but let's make sure this Varus doesn't get any further behind, because Gio is one of the main characters in this one, especially with no Yorick to team fight in this. It's going to be this Varus that needs to do a lot of heavy lifting later on.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of awkward as well, because this comp is kind of gauged towards, okay, that is going to be Canyon stealing it away and Gideon now being in trouble. Taunted back, and Bristle and Sejuani are really in a rough spot. The Glacial Prison doesn't really do too much, and so the Flash has to be employed to get him out of there. Next Drake going to be up in 2 minutes, so the ulti will be available. Flash will not by Gideon.
That's right. Chovy, man, he is just he's kind of chovying this lane pretty hard.
Yeah, he is.
For a taunt.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, chovying now just means winning in any way.
In a perfect way, actually, without making any mistakes.
Winning really good. Doing good winning. That's chovying.
We were discussing
it
yesterday if Perfect should just change his name to Chovy.
I really did like that bomb comment idea. As the handshake comes on through, hostile takeover is down as well as Lehens. He's staying alive for a really long time. There are so many sticks into this Elise, though, and he is just going to go down. Ruler will get immediately bailed out and then killed again, but he gets a double kill. Kingen, he teleported in. He's looking to see whether he can get even more in this game as Canyon wants to kill Gideon. The flash forward, he'll get his cries, and now he's inside the ghoulie wall. He gets so much of his health back, though, and the shield comes in, and it's not enough to save him. The Maiden will be able to get rid of the Pantheon. Man, so similar to those Ouroboros things from that game.
It's a very close game in terms of the gold. The problem is that 3 kills are on a Sejuani and 3 kills are on a Yorick. That's the kind of lines I'm seeing here. It's like, oh, okay, they got something back. It's just not really feeling great as TP is being committed to.
Yeah. Oh, the Justice Punch angle was gorgeous. As now Kingen trying to stay alive, and Keen, he can tank up that turret for just long enough. Even the Maiden is going to be put down as GenG will eventually win out on that trade and put themselves 2,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, and look at the lane setup. Well, we won't be able to look at it until we go back to live and it'll be missed. But my point is, after all of this, Victor is still pushing bottom, or can't push bottom side, so they don't really lose anything from the play. This is just really good play and trust between Duro and Ruler in a fight like this. Canyon shows up, Ruler puts the sticks in, has the bailout, and then here...
In the meantime, Duro is dead. And back to your usual programming.
So now Calyx actually did get the push here into the bottom lane, so he's going to pick up some plate gold as well.
Oh, Canyon is going to get cocooned. Ruler is over here, though. Lehens, oh dear. He is going to be able to hop on over towards... Oh, that was actually Ruler's little sentinel. That's very cute. As Keen just dives on top of Lehens, and Lehens is really dead. The approaching Chovy means that they cannot actually follow up on it, and so thanks for the leash, says GenG, and they will be able to take down the Infernal Drake. How does Duro dying unceremoniously translate into GenG getting a Drake?
They just didn't really have the setup to fight after that. You know, it's a catch that comes through while the Victor is pushing the bottom lane, isn't set up with his team to then control the fight. And speaking of the Victor, he's just going to get punched.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll watch the replay and break it all down, but it's just GenG, the faster, quicker reaction to a play like this. Like, look at where all the members are. Like, Keen's coming down. And yes, you end up catching the Renata, but use a lot of tools to do so, by the way. That was a weird transition there.
That was weird. Okay, we're gonna, okay. And now,
yes.
And
okay.
Forward and here we go.
Okay, so Victor is pushing bottom. Keen can actually get over here super quickly. And then Lehens just ends up losing almost all of his health bar here as Ruler chases in. And Alex is like, he can't, like, the thing about Victor in this situation is he had Cryo, but he can't stop Keen from getting in. And they just don't have the numbers advantage. Yorick is not there. And even if he was, I don't know if it would have really changed things.
No, that's the problem. It kind of doesn't. And as soon as there is any sort of forward momentum from GENG, like getting a little pick onto Lehens, Kingen in a side lane, and the group up, then Calyx has to give ground, right? He really wants to be getting rotations and spells down, get lots of damage, as we know Victor is very capable of doing. In this composition, it's kind of impossible.
I mean, the Renata in this game, you have two range supports, right? You have the Elise, which is range half the time, and the Renata, right? Two aggressive supports trying to win the lane. But what Renata does is empowers her carries in this game. Can even empower Chovy if he goes in deep, can empower the Pantheon to get a reset, can empower Keen. Whereas Lehen's just trying to do a little explosion on somebody. And if he doesn't get it, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't have a locket. He's got Zazox and Dash Cannon.
Oh, Cocoon is going to hit Ruler somehow. It's kind of crazy. Ruler not under any threat because he wasn't in vision, but still, that was cute.
And Locket, the Iron Solari for Duro, going to help his whole team in every fight.
Yep.
And that's kind of the difference in what these champs do, especially when GENG start to get control of the game and start to take a big lead. That's where we were talking about the 7 deaths for Lehens. We're still a ways away from that, and maybe we're not really on pace for it at this point in time because he had a pretty clean early game, didn't make too many mistakes, but it just gets harder and harder and harder to take vision away as this squishy Elise as this goes on. They will get the Herald, it looks like here. GENG coming for a late contest. Maybe actually they can take it away from Nongshim.
Well, full vision now picked up. They had that control ward in the pit. Kingen with the push, though, as we can see. The Maiden helping out. Canyon just going to move on over and say thanks for the leash. That was odd. They pick up the feats of strength as there's the Glacial Prison. It connects onto Chovy, though. He's capable of ignoring it. And Duro, he's going to buy some space there. That was a cute little repel attempt, but Lehens is still so squishy and will go down. Chovy just walks into the middle of them. The Flash Justice Punch, down goes Gideon. And now even Keen is getting into it because he can deliver Chovy into the top lane. Kingen, he's not out of the woods just yet. Canyon comes on over and gives him a spear. And GENG are just kind of styling on him now.
I feel like Canyon always has his empowered Q, like every single time.
I think it's the only version of the Q for Canyon.
Yeah, he comes up, he's like, I stacked it, and you're dead. Yeah, Gromp will survive it this time, but yeah, this is starting to be a bit of a circling of the drain as they almost have control here, right? But GENG rotator faster, Chovy has teleport. Canyon had his ultimate, but he doesn't choose to use it. They play it super patiently as Ruler may be in trouble, maybe not.
Q is dead, Lehens is dead, and then... What?
Renata Callista, 7-kill Callista.
Yeah, he really utilized the bailout attack speed in order to make that one work.
A shield on a 7-kill Callista.
Yep. We're remembering, aren't we? Why Ruler doesn't get to play this champion ever.
No, I think this was one of those games where probably shouldn't have allowed it. Probably shouldn't have been.
I mean, I don't actually fault Nongshim that much in this decision, right? They get the Varus. Varus is very high priority on this patch. I do think lethality probably fit into this composition a little bit better just because you're going to be playing mainly 4-1. Kingen needs to stay in side lane, so clearing waves from range going to be pretty important, but that's a bit of a nitpick. Varus is very strong. I mean, as we're having a look at this, Duro, yeah, just turns up in the nick of time, and Jiu just doesn't have the damage.
No. Lehens proc Zazox on him, though.
Haha.
I'm not a big fan of the Elise pick in this draft, nor am I of the Yorick. I feel like if you had played something that has a little bit of power, like a ranged champion that can team fight well but is pretty safe in the top lane, I would have liked it more. We would like the safer pick than the Elise into a Callista Renata composition. And I think they're paying some of the consequences of that, but I think GENG are just playing overall the better game. And we can nitpick all we want, but GENG's not doing a whole lot of losing. They've only lost 3 games this season.
And it's not looking like Nongshim are going to be the team to hand them their first loss. I think a lot of us are going to be looking at our calendars for when GENG Humble Life Esports is going to be happening again. Because I tell you what, it'd be pretty cute if they went 1-1 against one another. And that is sort of like the only loss both of these teams has.
It's match 71 on the 21st, so second to last week of play.
Yeah, so we're going to be saving the best till last, I guess, as far as that is concerned. And both GENG and HLE are going to have to keep up the lossless streak as Ruler is going to be able to cleanse Gideon, and the Chains of Corruption just go wide. That's a lot of sticks. Fate's Call comes down, 3-man knockup from Duro, and there is the ultimate as well. Jiu is going to get taken out, and Ruler is continuing to hop forward. GENG, this combination, when it works, it looks so good. And Nongshim don't have an answer to it as Keen is going to dive forward. Kingin is put into the Hextech ultimatum. And sometimes ultimatums really do feel bad. That one is certainly one of them.
I mean, we're 20 minutes in.
Break stuff.
Yeah, 20 minutes in, and GENG are just like, can we end? 12 seconds here on this Varus. Calyx is at full health and should be able to clear this as Victor. Although, a Herald? Although, a Herald. Dancing Herald?
Oh, God, we might get Dancing
Herald? Question mark?
That would be crazy, as Canyon's going to get the first charge. The first Nexus turret will go down. GENG is so far, it's a 10,000 gold lead at 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Shelly is not going to be dancing because she is dead, unfortunately. And Nongshim's, you know, like, they respawn really fast because it's still quite early. So 9,000 gold lead. Nongshim back out onto the map, but not for very long.
I mean, it's funny that they killed a Nexus turret while both the inners in top and bottom are up.
Yep.
They could have definitely just backed away and used the Herald to guarantee, like, maybe even a charge on the second inhibitor turret in the bottom lane, but it was very fun and exciting when they tried to potentially end the game. Like, if Nongshim had made a mistake there, they just end.
Oh, Nongshim Otacon angle? As let's have a look at this one more time from Ruler's perspective.
The problem with the Sejuani doesn't have any follow-up is that Ruler has cleanse.
Yep.
And live?
In live, they're engaging onto Chovy. The level of possible that a successful outcome from that is quite low. As Otacon hasn't been started just yet. Duro's going to be the one to take the chain CC this time as Canyon moves in. They know that Duro is dead. He gets a nice little handshake, though, as now Canyon going forward. I don't know about that one. He flashes away immediately. And Keen, he goes in, he finds the backline, but he ults Gideon just to try and break up this fight. And Gideon, he is definitely a killable target because they are so incredibly far behind. Keen now just on cleanup duty. He finds the hook shot as Calyx with a crying bee is going to be moving away from this. There's the Grand Starfall. He knew that he was dead. And a gargoyle delivery as well is going to come in as Chovy realizes that they can just walk in the front door because they've already destroyed most of this space.
Yeah, I think he's pretty happy to just walk up and say, yeah, 21 and a half minutes in. I think that sounds about right.
Is this the shortest game of this season?
I'm looking.
Because I think it might just be. I don't think we've seen anything sub 20 minutes. And yeah, this is an absolute shellacking. Ruler dancing around the Nexus will put the last stick in there. And damn, that was a statement game for GENG.
It's almost 3 minutes shorter than the fastest game of the season, which was 24:33.
Yeah, I was looking at, I saw that number. I'm like, that can't be right.
Yeah, so a stomp here in the second game. First game was definitely interesting. The second game, I think the draft left us a little bit wanting. And you draft against GENG's strong early mid, and you play risky. Sometimes GENG has Ruler flash over the wall and he dies and the game gets interesting. Sometimes he plays Kalista, and it's just not even close.
Why does his Kalista look so different from other ones, though?
I mean, he has a really good team. He's often had really good teams in the past, but I'm not going to say that. I think his spacing is good. I think his judgment skills are great. And Duro gave him a lot in this one. For me, it's kind of a toss-up between voting for Duro and voting for Canyon in this one.
Yeah, I think Canyon had 2 phenomenal games. I think he outclassed Gideon both times.
I think I have to vote for Canyon.
No, but Duro was so good in game 1 that I think, regardless of what happens in this game, Duro should get it. That's
I think both are viable. I'm a bit of a jungle voter today, and
no, I think as far
I'm
as
definitely not a popular voter.
Yeah, consistency over the series, Canyon looked much better than he's looked, actually. Like, you think of last year, but Canyon kind of muted. Even the beginning of this year, not necessarily having the pop-offs outside of a couple here and there. So I think a return to form for Canyon is worthy of celebration, 100%.
GENG, I mean, it's just one of those series where they can do no wrong, it feels like. And even in the moments where they do wrong, they right it moments later. And this is like part of why I vote for Canyon for POM, right? Because he just runs the early game, gets this insane gank onto Calyx after taking away his opponent's camps, which he also did.
And he 3-buff double scuttled in the last game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he kind of just had this insane performance, regardless of the outcome of everything else. The Xinjiao moment in game 1 as well, where he outplayed Calyx and killed him before he died, was pretty crazy. Here, doesn't quite get the second kill. He's like, I want it. 2 on cooldown. I don't know, it's just GENG, everyone's on the same page. The comps are good. The responses to the draft here from Nongshim are good. Like, I feel like in isolation, Camille Galio is really strong, but it doesn't necessarily make sense into all comps. But into this Varus comp that doesn't really have that much of a front line with the Elise that was set up here with the Renata, that you already have in the bank, like everything that GENG put together here just makes a ton of sense. It feels almost dated if you just don't think about what they're playing into. When you think about what they're playing into, it feels genius. And so,
yeah, kind of. I mean, I think Camille Galio is always going to feel good. But like you said, like this is something that we haven't necessarily seen teams index into all that often in more recent times. Damn, looks good when it works, though. I tell you that much.
As it turns out, King's good at Camille, Chovy's good at Galio.
Yeah.
Ruler's good at Callista. We weren't sure, but I guess Duro is good at Renata. Huh! And we knew Pantheon was a good pick for Cannon. He played it like a long time ago, many times, before it was meta recently. Yeah. That one was not a new information. Nor was the Ruler, nor was the
Kane, nor was the Chovy.
Yeah, no.
Duro, though, we're getting information, baby! Last time he picked up POM, he's got 100 points so far. He got it on Braum and Alistair. And if he got it this time, it would be on Nautilus and Renata, which would be very, very cool that he's got individual champions every time for his POM as such a new player.
Canyon still hasn't gotten any POMs.
All right, then hopefully it's going to be him. I mean, he ran the jungle, and Gideon has been performing really, really well. I think the resurgency of Nongshim is largely based on the fact that Gideon has been having better performances. But in this game, it was a ruler gap.
We didn't quite get the 7+ deaths on Lehens, but the game ended really fast.
Oh, wait. Maybe it's a Chovy angle, because if you have a look at this this goal graph, it's kind of like a right hand is pointing.
Canyon got it!
Hey, there you go. So no one saw the signs. No one saw the signs. So Canyon is going to be able to pick that one up, and he had game-breaking performances both times, set up the early game so beautifully.
We have such an insane jungle pool at the top. I mean, when you consider we have Owner, obviously, who seems to be the best jungler, Canyon, then you have Peanut, and even Gideon is like in that conversation right now.
Yeah.
Man, LCK jungle pretty insane.
Yeah, and I felt like it was really top-heavy for a while there, right? It was like Peanut and Canyon, and then kind of the rest, and we didn't really know. Owner, of course. I don't know how I forgot. I was busy like talking about Owner the entire last series. But the 3 of them, and then the 7 others. Man, it is the day of the junglers, although it was Faker that got POM last time. Let's throw over to the interview, though, and have a chat with Canyon.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Dear for the POM interview translation, joined by Canyon on the side of GENG. This is your first POM, Canyon. How do you feel? Yeah, it's been such a long time since I stood here getting interviewed. But being here after a long time, it still makes me happy. And you guys now have a 22-match winning streak. How does that feel? Yeah, we're actually doing so well. Our form is in great shape. And since we are still undefeated, I hope that we are able to continue our winning streak. And right, that's the 22-match winning streak against Nongshim. And from Nongshim's point of view, GENG must feel like an immovable mountain. So how do you feel about that dominant match history? You know, I wasn't a part of all of that match winning streak. But yeah, I think that matchup itself seems so dominant. It's actually quite surprising to see that kind of data. And in game 1, the enemy Zeri got fed, making it seem winnable for Nongshim. But GENG's gameplay was just so solid. So just what do you have to do to prevent a reverse sweep by GENG? You know, our team tries to catch every single trivial details, and that's just the way our team plays, and that's our style. So we try to minimize all those sort of mistakes. So I guess I can't really pinpoint the exact thing that makes us win the game, but you know, we're good. So you are so well aware of how GENG is just so flawless. And in game 2, you played Pantheon with the Camille and Galio lanes, so this trap showed your intent to start snowballing early. Do you think it played out as you planned? Yeah, I think it was a great start for us in the game. But there were some accidents in the middle of the game. But I think we're able to take the lead and try to take and utilize our advantage. And you were actually pulling out so many crack plays as a jungler with all the mind games in game 2. So how did you come up with the early jungle pathing? You know, the Victor's ward was in the river, and I noticed that, and I was well aware of that. So if I knew that as long as I flash over, that I would be able to take a lot of the lead and get that kill in mid. So I think that actually ended up snowballing the rest of the game. Yeah, good catch on that ward. And so with all those amazing plays, you were able to get the POM for the first time. So maybe you're just playing so well for that POM. Maybe Chovy's been getting too much POM? Yeah, Chovy's been doing really well, so he does deserve all the POM. That's just what I think. Looks like GENG is able to keep their undefeated streak because all the team's players are doing really well. So would you like to say anything to celebrate Parents' Day? Anything you want to say to your parents? I'm really glad that I'm able to win on Parents' Day, and I hope that my parents stay healthy and they live for a very long, healthy life. And your next opponent will be BNK FearX. What is your resolution? You know, BNK FearX, they're a really good team. They're very aggressive. So I hope that we're able to prepare well. And that's the end of the interview with Canyon, and back to the space. Thank you.